ESSER 3 funds. I know originally there was a public notice that this hearing was supposed to start at 5:10 p.m. However, there was a publishing error in the Concord Monitor that listed the starting time as 5:30 p.m. And because we are required by law to put this in things like newspapers, we wanted to be beholden to that 5:30 start time, which is why we're starting now. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Flynn to explain and Michelle Clark to explain the ESSER 3 funding proposal, and then we will open it up for public comment specific to our ESSER 3 fund expenditures.
Sure, thank you. So just to refresh everyone's memory on ESSER 3, one of the requirements, and if you go to on the web page under departments, under the business office, you will be able to locate the ESSER 2 and 3 funds document, which has been going on for multiple years on what the money has been used for. You'll see currently there's a balance of $165,000, $165,452.34. You can see what we spent it on last year, what we had already budgeted for this year, and then as we began this year, the administration, more specifically Ms. Hibbert, has identified an area of need for us, and that would be making our psychologist a full-time position for the year. So we currently have 1.6. I hate using those terms, but we have 1.6, and so we would like to use the funds to support our middle high school generally, even though they're all district-wide, making it full-time. Ms. Hibbert can answer the questions if you like, but essentially we are noticing more support needed for our students. I know it's careful because you can mix up words when you talk about school psych versus therapist versus what's the other one that people always bring up? Counselor. But because of our reorganization of the position with Ms. Alamo, we are now asking our psychs to do stuff that they weren't doing before. So this will help us to support not just the students, but the testing and the services that are needed. Does that sound about right? Okay. Michelle, any?
And it's estimated to be about $25,000. That would be the balance of the year because we have to wait until after it's approved.
Have to wait until after it's approved.
Correct.
I know it's very early in our budgeting process, but are you anticipating that this becomes a full-time position moving into our next budget?
Mandy is going to be putting that forward through our work sessions that we can start that discussion, but we just see a trend in the value of having them both be full-time district-wide.
Okay.
Job description might change a little bit because we want to continue to update what we should be doing, and we have new people in place that are capable of doing it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
So I might have totally missed this, but it's just that row 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Just 7. Yep.
Just 7.
The
Okay.
other ones were already
Already
at the
done.
last public hearing.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Terrific.
All right. So if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment on the hearing regarding the ESSER 3 expenditures proposed for an increase in our current psychologist hours from 0.6 to 1.0 at approximately $25,000.
Tricia Lambert, 305 Galloping Hill Road. So with that, with the vote, if that goes through today, I know back in February, March timeframe, there was a lot of talk about mental health within, I believe, the high school. I think Chris Kelly had come and spoke with about anxiety, mental health, and even suicide. There wasn't much time spent on that by the board to discuss that. Is this the reason that we're adding the time for this position?
It's part of that, yeah. So part of that is really being able to utilize both people to not only work more directly with kids on some kiddos like Psat, but also then work directly with them through risk assessment, things like that, with them from the building 3 days a week.
So it's increased since the COVID timeframe.
So this is something that I had brought up far before today.
Okay. I'm just basing it off of Chris Kelly's comment that it's increased pretty significantly. I don't remember his exact words. I'd have to go pull the tape, but.
Yeah, I'm only speaking.
Okay,
to mine.
nope, that's fine. I appreciate that. Second question, the ESSER 3 funds, which comes under ARPA, or the rescue plan, are the grant conditions posted anywhere on our website, or grant assurances that we could be reading what ties us to this money for ESSER 3? I mean, technically ESSER 1, 2, or 3, but specifically ESSER 3, which I believe includes the plan for back to school, which was a new requirement, and I think has a time frame on it. Do you know what the time frame is for that?
To spend the funds?
No.
No, the return to school.
What are the
plan.
grant assurances or the grant conditions that how you have tied, the school, the district has tied to the federal government to accept these funds?
So that is on our website.
Okay.
I knew it was on our website.
The grant assurance, the actual grant
Yeah, all the check boxes that we had to fill.
check boxes.
I say check boxes because we had to check it on certain questions they were asking, and then we had to provide the information. Yes.
That's for the,
It was for the ESSER 2-3.
that's for the plan to reopen. Those,
The
that,
reopen plan
the
was
template they
tied
gave
to-
you?
There was the question that we had to answer, and then there was a reopening document, yes.
Right, but do you have to sign a document to accept those funds? Is that available for the public?
Yeah, it's right on here. We've got.
The actual document itself?
Yeah.
Yep, it's
Yep.
a scan of it.
The actual grant conditions?
We have the LEA ARP ESSER plan, a plan for the LEA's use of ARP ESSER funds form filled out by the Hopkinton School District.
To accept those funds and the conditions that go along with it?
Yep.
Okay, so as part of the ESSER 3 conditions, you had to have a reopening plan.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Right, and so I have that available. How long is that required? Because I believe that you're required to, I apologize, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks. So we had our statewide meeting on Friday with the state of the New Hampshire Ed now, NHED. And they gave us the new timelines and updates. So they advised us all on Friday, all the superintendents were there, that that reopening plan that's currently on our website needs to be updated or reflect what is going on for the 22-23 school year.
Makes
So
sense.
We did not need to submit it to the state. There was no, so the previous one we had to submit for approval, they reviewed it, then we were allowed to post it. So this one was allowed to be posted. They actually didn't give us a deadline, they just said as soon as possible. Right, Becca?
So how long is that plan required to be maintained per the federal?
They didn't give us any info on that.
No info?
They told us to update.
I think there's a date on it. What's the date?
You can tell me?
It's in the law. It's September 2023. Thank you.
22-23 school year.
Yeah, so.
Great. Any other comments specific to the ESSER 3 fund expenditures regarding increasing the school psychologist hours to 1? Nope. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close this part of the hearing.
Do we need to make a motion?
Do we need to make well, I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. So we, as a board, need to go ahead and decide whether or not we would like to accept the proposal to move the school psychologist position from 0.6 to 1.0 at a cost of $25,000 to be taken out of our ESSER 3 fund.
So moved. Second.
All right, great. Any discussion?
It sounds like a good plan, and no member of the public objected to it, so it feels good to move forward.
Great, thank you, I agree. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries. So now I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of our public hearing. I'm going to go then and open up our next public hearing, which again was initially set for 5:20 p.m., but because of the publishing error in the Concord Monitor on September 10th stating the meeting time at 5:30, we have started this hearing a bit later than anticipated as well. This is for the discussion of the withdrawal of funds from our school district building repair and maintenance fund for renovations and improvements to the SAU office up to no more than $30,000. And we'll turn it on over to you guys.
I'm going to pass it to Michelle, as this is more of her office, so go ahead.
Sure. So I'm sure you guys have all seen that the SAU has had some things done to the exterior of the building. There are some needs for some interior things. The exterior was all done with fund balance. We no longer can use fund balance from last year because last year's numbers did close. So what we are looking at is creating an area, a more defined space for a position in the building, as well as we need our sewer line worked on. Right now, currently, we're having to deal with using that facility in a different way than we've had in the past. Some interior painting, some window shades, and some new furniture for the office for that new space, with up to $30,000 as the amount that we're looking for, and that money we're looking to have come out of the school building maintenance trust.
Jim, do you mind speaking to the plumbing? Yeah, if you don't mind, thank you.
Thank you, Jim Rozicki, Facilities. A little update on the plumbing. Again, I could still use the term, I'm new here, but I guess the plumbing has backed up in the past. It's original to the building structure. I'm not sure when it was built, probably in the 50s. Cast iron, I believe it was problematic back a couple of years ago. They snaked it, and this problem keeps on reoccurring. So on that glorious Friday afternoon when I got the call, which is always a facilities guy's favorite, I called Mr. Reuter, which came down right away. They camera snaked the whole drain and revealed some pitting on the interior of the cast iron pipes. And he's like, you got to get this taken care of. So yeah, it's in very bad condition. So.
All right. Questions from the board?
Michelle, what's the current amount in that account?
So currently, there's $516,930.10.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
What's the lead time for them to complete the job if it's approved tonight?
Mr. Reuter, that we received the quote on for the piping, he said in the next 3 weeks he can get out to do it. The other work that for the reconstruction of the interior office, I don't have an exact timeline on that yet. Hopefully by the end of November is what our goal is, because we want to keep that building active, and that work can happen in the evening, so it's not going to impact daily operations of the building.
But it's usable, right? Employees can use?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll be without a kitchenette for a couple weeks, so because that requires shifting over kitchenette.
Great, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Nope. All right, I will go ahead and open up the public comment portion specific to the withdrawal of funds from the school district building repair and maintenance fund for renovations and improvements to the SAU office up to $30,000. If anyone has any comments on that, you are welcome to come forward.
No more than 30,000, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Lauren Clement, 86 Maple Street. Just had a clarifying question. Is the SAU on city sewer, or do we have a leach field? And other than, we've dealt with this in a similar situation where a house was converted into office space where the cast iron gets scaling and then backs up. My understanding is there's two options: either remove the cast iron, or there's also a process where they can run like a drill bit sort of thing down, resurface the cast iron, and that's less intrusive. I don't know nowadays if one's more cost effective than the other, but I was just curious if you'd looked into that. So is it on septic or town? And had you looked into that other option?
Sure.
We are on town, sewer and water.
You can speak to
Jim
the
can speak to that.
PVC.
If you go up to the microphone, Jim, that'd be great.
Yes, sir. It's on town, city water and sewer. We didn't explore the grinding of the inside of the pipe, and what I was told by two different people was the existing pitch of it, where it keeps on scaling up, is not proper. So the grand recommendation was go PVC all the way and never have the problem again.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments?
Rita Blanchard, Barton Corner. I'm just curious, are we going to bid this out? Mr. Reuter's like a national chain, not notorious for being inexpensive. And we just replaced some cast iron pipes at a house. And we checked into tearing up the floor, redoing them all, versus doing the descaling versus dropping a liner, an epoxy liner in them. So I'm curious how much we're going to be charged for Mr. Reuter, and if any other plumbers have been talked to about this. What account were we talking about with the $516K?
That's our trust fund for school buildings.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. I couldn't hear when you said it. All right, thanks.
Yes, we actually did engage Dick Shook Plumbing, which is local. Their bid was a little bit high. They didn't bid formally, but I believe $7,000 was their estimate, and that was back a few years ago. And then when I called him about the issue in the first place to come out and see if he can come and snake it, he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that job." So no, we didn't officially go out to bid on it.
Where are we getting 30K from? Guesstimate.
So it's $13,500 for doing the interior renovations, $49.90 for the plumbing, $4,000 for a painting allowance, interior all. We had furniture for $1,100, and if memory serves me right, I think it was $1,400 for window dressings, and we would install those in-house by Home Depot window shades and install those with our own staff.
Great. All right, any other comments on this issue? No? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment portion of this public hearing. As a board, we need to decide whether or not we will accept the withdrawal of funds from the school district building repair and maintenance fund for the renovations and improvements of the SAU office up to and not to exceed $30,000.
So moved.
Second.
Great, any discussion? No?
This is what the money's for in our building repair and maintenance fund. It feels like the SAU is in need of repair.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that this is a good example of some deferred maintenance, that its time has come, and we have the money. We've put that money away in savings for these exact issues. So with that,
Just one
yeah.
thing, I want to thank Jim. Jim, through his position, has relationships with people, which comes with that industry and that business. So the contractor he found to do the remodeling aspect of it agreed to do evening so that we can continue our work, which is huge, which isn't typical. And then with, I called it Roto-Rooter and I got corrected, it's Mr. Rooter. It's, again, it's the relationship piece that allows us to have the faith that, good faith numbers that they send our way. So it's definitely value to have Jim and what he's doing.
Excellent. Okay, great. All right, so we have a motion and second. No more discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, and I'm going to go ahead then. Thank you all for coming to the public hearing portion of this evening. I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing at 5:55 and then switch to another screen. And now, can we keep rolling, Matt? Great. I'm going to go ahead and open our regular public Hopkinton School District School Board regular meeting on September 20th, 2022. We're starting at 5:55 p.m. We have a full board joining us tonight with Jim O'Brien, Dulcie LaPoma, Norm Goupel, Rob Nato, myself, Andrea Folsom. We're also joined by Flo Dappas and Noah Aframe, our student representatives. We have our administrative assistant, Joni Condon, Superintendent Mike Flynn, Business Administrator, Michelle Clark, and Curriculum Assessment and Professional Development Director, Becca Gagnon, joining us tonight. Thank you all. With that, I'd like to go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so this evening we have one set of minutes to approve from our regular board meeting on September 6, 2022 that folks have had a chance to take a look at. Any corrections? They look okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes for the September 6, 2022 school board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We are going to go ahead now and open up our first public comment portion of our school board meeting. As a reminder, we added in this additional public comment section due to a recent statute change that requires us to have public comment open for 30 minutes. We want to be sure that people have an opportunity to be able to give their comments to the board, so we now have two public comment portions. So would anyone like to give public comment at this time? We will also have a second public comment portion at the end of the meeting if you prefer. I just ask that you state your name and address and keep it to 3 minutes, please. And Rita, if you would like, you can come right up. Don't even need to sign in at this one.
Rita Blanchard, Barton Corner Road. I was looking at the minutes, the ones you just approved, and the minutes from the retreat. For a few years, I was asking about the retreat, and Steve Chamberlain at one point literally said everybody does it. And I don't care if everybody does it. That doesn't mean you go with the flow if it's illegal. There is a law that the board cannot meet without the public. And year after year, we have the retreat, and when you have it at a private residence, that's illegal. I'm wondering when this is going to change.
So the school board retreat can occur any place within our district, which it did. It was publicly noticed in accordance to state statute, and public was welcome to join us.
Okay, because the public wasn't aware they were welcome to join you. I guess we can change some wording moving forward.
It's the same.
Same wording every year
Same
after
wording
year.
for every
Right, and the public
meeting.
doesn't understand that they can attend that retreat because it says school board retreat. And when I go to a nursing retreat, it's usually for nurses.
Okay, I hear that.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Great. Any other public comment for this portion? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this initial public comment period. We will have a second one towards the end of the meeting. Next up, comments from you guys, from Flo and Noah.
Right. So we don't have much to report this time, other than that school's been going well. Homecoming is this weekend. This week is Spirit Week, so today we were Country versus Country Club, and tomorrow is Wacky Wednesday. Yeah, the student council has been doing a great job with that. We have a pep rally on Friday. Also, just as a side note, the EAC Environmental Action Club has been meeting.
Okay.
So we're starting operations.
Excellent.
Yeah.
She pretty much covered it all.
You guys just take turns. Well, thank you very much. Spirit Week sounds very fun. I wish we had known we could have dressed up. It would have been amazing. Okay, on to board comments. And I'm going to go ahead and go first today. Yeah, for board comments?
I'd save you for last.
All right, I'll go last. Any other board comments?
None for me.
No? Rob?
Let the record reflect, I don't have any comments. I know.
You get to go first then.
See?
Slack-jawed, that doesn't have a comment. That's my comment.
None? Great, now it's my turn. So, we have a special guest in the audience tonight. We have Jay Burgess here with us, and as a board and as a community, we really wanted to take a moment to express our sincere appreciation for all you have done for the Hopkinton School District over the past many years, helping us shepherd through this huge building project, really from soup to nuts, being with us every step of the way. It has impacted students now, it will impact generations of students, and we could not be more grateful for your insight, your input, and really just helping guide that whole process. So we really wanted to bring you here tonight to publicly thank you so much. And I know Norm now has a thing or two to say.
I'm sorry I lied to get you here. But, you know, I did.
I didn't know that part.
But yeah, but you know, Jay, it has been such a privilege. You know, when we look at what we do as a board for education and what we provide for our students, for our teachers, and for this community, as an individual, learning from you in this project was a gift, because I learned so much on a project and what to ask, what to look for, and what to be accountable for. And you started this project way before I was even part of this board, and we're forever in debt for your service, for what you did for this community. You know, you've said to me multiple times, just kind of wanted to step away and go into the sunset, but it wasn't without us being able to say thank you for all you did. And I really thank you for all the meetings and all your insight and everything that you did for this community and for this project. Thank you very much.
And Jay, we didn't get to spend much time together, but when you talk about what the level of expertise there is, I could point to anything in this room and you could just go on a laundry list of the why it's here or what's wrong with it or things of that nature. And to have that confidence, because a lot of times it's not our background, it made everything more comprehensible to us. And when you do massive projects like that, trusting someone, I knew that I didn't have to even think about trust, because they said whatever you say is golden. So I appreciate that in my short time here, but I know all the people that you've worked with through this project. You met Jim on his first day here. The dedication you still continue to provide for us as a system, it's very, very appreciative, and we wouldn't be here as a district without you. So, anyone else? If not, I'm gonna.
We have a little gift.
We have a little gift. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Norm knows I wouldn't have come if he had lied. Thank you all
Victoria, you want to stick around, right?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, go ahead, sleep too. You got it.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to keep moving right along. Those are fun board comments. To current business. And our current business is going to also start with a fantastic recognition of our Susan Psat recipients. And Mike, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Yeah, so this was new to me last year, the Sue P awards, and it was amazing to be a part of the process. And this actually began for me in December when the initial founders, I'll say, reached out to me for some discussion and to catch me up on what it was about and why it was about. And I think that what you'll see in the representatives of the award this year is excellence. And so I'm not sure they were ever brought to the board before, so I thought it was a great thing to acknowledge who were the award winners. But to give you a brief oversight, the Susan Psat was an inspirational teacher and value member of the school and community. She was an exemplary commitment to young people for fostering support. So this award was created to honor the memory and to live on. So this has been going on for quite some time. Teachers will have the opportunity, that's the best part, is they nominate each other. It doesn't come from our office at all. So the previous award winners receive the applications, they review them, and we go from there. But more specifically, they demonstrate their commitment to their students, the growth within the community, and it's a big deal, and that's what I learned. It wasn't anything to take lightly. The seriousness of the applications, it was to a point where the committee's like, can we give it to everybody? And it's just not possible. So through that, what ended up happening this year, I thought was a pretty powerful moment for us as a district is not only did we have a representative from the middle high school, we had a representative from our lower elementary schools, and then we did something more specifically in conjunction with the founders in that the nurses and their commitment to our students over the past couple of years and what they've done, they were acknowledged as well. So with that, I would like to recognize Madame and Miss Masters, who is here this evening, as two award winners. Madame, you want to speak to Madame? I mean, when you talk about legends in Hopkinton, it doesn't get much better than that. But it was pretty evident when Bridget was talking in front of the staff, I know you guys were there, the legacy, which is hard for teachers, but the legacy that you have here and will leave here is certainly a different level that, as I said repeatedly, doesn't quite exist a lot anymore. The length and the time and the investment, you've worked with thousands of students. That's not a fake number. I know. And you talk about the trips and going to Montreal, Quebec. Am I right on that? Yeah. And then overseas. The time and the investment that you've not just spent with the students, but then the department and the growth that we've had within the World Language Department. I've only been here for a short time, but I know what it was and where we are. That is a testament of you and no one else and the leadership that you provided that department. And then with Nicole, I know we honored the nurses individually as a board, but now as a district when we came together, and what you were able to provide, and I'll say it again, not just our students, but our community. You are a lead resource for a lot of people in our community over this time, and for our adults that you work with every day. You've helped us and all of them through this process, and we wouldn't be where we are without you. And then the other recipients,
Amy Cook.
Tina Blinn, Amy Cook, and Jean Picard. So we'd like to acknowledge all of them and say thank you for everything that you've done. So we appreciate it. Thank you. This is when I would invite you if you would like to say anything. It's up to you.
In French. In French. So Jody Hessel.
It's been a privilege to be part of this school for as many years as I've been here. When I came here, it was supposed to be a stopgap job until I found another job in higher level ed, which is where I came from. And the amazing thing happened, which is that I just fell in love with this job. And so it's really been my good fortune to find myself here for all these years. So I thank you. I think I've been maybe luckier than you guys.
Thanks.
So thank you. And I'm sorry that I scarred Kelsey for life.
No way.
Myself and the other nurses, Amy and Jean, we very much appreciate being recognized. As we all know, it's been extremely challenging for everybody. And it's just nice to be recognized and appreciated, so thank you so much.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
tonight.
guys
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
No, I just had to get creative.
Let's just end the meeting.
Yeah, I'm a good.
Down to board meeting.
All right. You're
Yep, so on the budget timeline, this is a refresher course for everyone. Last year, we bumped everything up, if you remember, and it was the first time that this board had lived through that pushed up timeline, the community. So just want to echo the same timeline. So in the folder, you'll see the budget development for the district and the timelines, which we've already started to check off the boxes. We are going to feedback that we've received from staff. It's been challenging this year with the earlier timeline with, I'll say, when we keep saying we're back, so the PD time we had, all of that all the things kind of tied up some of that. So we've heard that feedback. So next year, Becca is already developing a plan for department heads or buildings to have built-in budget timeline, because even though it's challenging for them at that time, the reward is the time that we get to work on it here, and the public communication that we get to have from starting October 4th all the way through. I think, or I feel that it helped us last year, a lot of the steps of the way. So we're going to work to help alleviate that stress for them at the beginning of the year to stay on target here. So quickly, you'll see that principals and directors are going to meet with Michelle and I on the 3rd. Our first work session's on the 4th. Public's welcome to come. It'll be a roundtable discussion. It'll be the discussion around all the things we've been thinking about or been trying to discuss. Then we'll go back to the board. We'll discuss the work session, but also maybe set some targets or goals from the board. Go back to the next work session in which the public can attend again, kind of narrow it down, maybe give us, Michelle and I, a little bit more of a specific target we're looking for. And then, as you can see, by the 25th, the board meeting on the 25th, we can really present budget drivers, goals that we want to hit, and then finally start to narrow it down come November. So any comments or questions on the review of the timeline?
I appreciate having it fall in October, November again. And I liked having an earlier timeline last year. I thought it was really helpful, and we were able to really think through things without feeling rushed by the holidays or end of year stuff.
And I think starting early last year was very important to this community, that people were able to get involved, and I just hope they continue to attend our meetings when we're doing that, because that's the time to ask questions in those points. I know it was a great meeting last year that we passed pretty quickly, and I think it was because we were able to start our budgeting process sooner and then communicate it for the next couple of months to the community, so it was successful.
That timeline is also in the public folder document already.
Yep.
So you can see the anticipated timelines, always anticipated because anything can change, but at least you know the target.
Yep.
All right. Any more questions on timeline? Okay, chaperones and volunteers. I wanted to have this at a board level just for the community to hear that they'll be getting notifications from their principals in regards to a change of practice for chaperones and volunteers. One thing that Jody and I identified last year was a continual last minute rush for fingerprinting, and it just doesn't work like that anymore. I think the earliest date you can get right now is around October 11th for a fingerprint. And then in the spring it becomes a challenge. So we're gonna put some timelines from the principals that you'll see that you have to complete the fingerprinting by a certain date in order to participate as a volunteer or chaperone. The other thing that we got updated on Friday is that the state has kind of put a stake in the ground on how long fingerprints last. So it's about 3 years. And we're creating an internal system to monitor that because they also, giving you a long story short, but once you complete the fingerprints and we receive notification, those also go away in 90 days. So we're going to create an internal log of who's been completed, if they've been approved, so that we have a running list in our system, because that's another thing people will call and say, well, I was fingerprinted, but there's no documentation or receipt or all that. So you'll start seeing that from the building principals on a timeline, and again, it's only to have that inventory so that when field trips come up or anything that we're not chasing down or parents are trying to get a fingerprint. We can't rush fingerprints. People have asked us, we cannot do that. All of it's through the state and the system, so it's just an update from this table, but more specifically, you'll see that from the principals. Any questions?
Yeah, do you want to encourage people as part of that messaging to encourage parents to like basically preemptively?
Yeah, so that you'll see that if you have any idea, if you think that you'll want to do it,
right,
volunteer and or chaperone, we will. You have to have an appointment by a certain date, because not only that, once you get, let's say October 11th, it's now taking sometimes between 4 weeks to get it back.
Yeah.
So we're looking at not, if you have an appointment on October 20th, we might not get it back before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that will be in that message.
Okay.
Questions on chaperones and or volunteers?
And well, like I said, are we currently low on like what I'll call volunteer inventory? Like, is the call also like we really need volunteers to be fingerprinted, or are we doing okay right now?
We're fine with that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's more.
Well, yeah, for field trips. That
But
wasn't
it's just because people decide to do it at last minute,
Okay.
and there's no last minute.
Okay.
Great. Moving on? Okay. Next would be superintendent's goals. So you see a draft in the board folder. I would say the same as last year. The draft's in there for you guys to review for 2 weeks. Send me any suggestions. Talk to me about any discussions. I'd like to note that when you're reviewing my goals, I tried to mirror some of yours, but some of yours weren't mine. And then I also tried to incorporate the strategic plan, because the strategic plan really drives a lot of our work. So I like the idea about how we're going to tie your goals and specifically tie it to how it connects to the strategic plan. And then from there, I will also subset how we do once we define it and how it connects, how we all connect, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions specifically on those prior to you reviewing them for 2 weeks?
I have just a comment. So one thing that was a little bit of a concern just at our budget committee meeting was that they wanted to be able to weigh in on our safety action plan if there's a monetary value to it. And if we're coming up with something in January 15th of a number, then it's going to be hard for them to be able to, if it's a warrant or something like that, would it be hard for them to be able to weigh in some type of opinion on it?
So it's going to be our plan, so this is where I need clarification.
Our goal said we were going to have potentially a warrant, and it was going to be on January 15th. So when we have our
That's our internal deadline.
correct, but is it enough time for them to be able to review it and be able to weigh in on it based on their schedule?
Well, I think by statute, if it's gonna go on the warrant, then then it's money at, and then they have to vote on it, and it has to be reported.
Yeah.
So they would have to have that authority that's statutory.
I don't think they voted on our final warrants until it was the second meeting.
It was after the public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's enough time that, so they're off on their calendar then, okay.
Because it wouldn't be a bond, because if it was a bond, it'd be something earlier, because
Okay.
there are specific deadlines for volunteering.
Yeah, I just wanted to relay their comments on that, so that's great that they have an opportunity.
We can present a warrant a week before if we needed to the committee, right?
Yeah, but I think, yes, it's
Yeah.
pretty good here, but I think that we had looked at the January 15th with
That's
the
our
notice.
return, yeah, so-
As from the work back from March to budget to everything
Yeah.
else, making sure that was appropriate and adequate.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss these more.
Yeah, it's fine.
At the next.
I would hope to finalize it for the next one, yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be my question. So send comments into you and then we'll talk about it in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
All right,
Moving along?
moving
I
along.
think I saw Matt come down the ladder.
Yeah.
Well, it felt that way a little bit last week with no easy way to access it. So, no, but good evening. It's great to be back in school. I'm happy to give an update sort of on the summer, which is obviously a big part of the technology department. That's where our biggest project work gets done, as well as, you know, a very exciting start to school. It was nice to have a semi-normal start to school. I'd almost forgotten what they're like. But I'm actually delighted that Jay was here, wish he was still here for a little bit, because one of the very last pieces of the building project was the installation over the summer of classroom audio systems. So these are wireless systems that allow teachers to project their voice. There's a ceiling mounted speaker. One of the nice things about the system that we went with is everything is wireless. So in the next 10 years, as rooms get redesigned and changed, there's literally nothing to do. You just unplug a base station and move it across the room and plug it in somewhere else. So that's a wonderful feature. Teachers have, you know, mentioned the quality of life improvement. Their voice is not tired at the end of the day. But there's also significant research that it helps not only students who have auditory processing disorders, for whom it's a necessary accommodation, but also all students benefit from it, hearing that teacher's voice more clearly. And there's also an interesting aspect where they say teachers don't sound as angry. You know, you're not projecting your voice as much, so you just sound a little calmer. The second exciting project that happened this summer was the replacement of the district's printers and copiers under our new managed copy service with Conic Minolta, and especially, I forget what SPC is, but anyway, the contractor who sort of manages the project for us. So the last copiers had some supply issues. They were delivered on Friday, and they were hooked up yesterday. So that was very exciting. So that project is complete as of yesterday. And that has been going pretty smoothly. Certainly a lot of delivery issues just because it was funny. You could get printers, you could not get copiers for months and months. I don't understand modern supply chains, but we're surviving. So, but those are finally complete as of yesterday. And the third one was, you know, doing our second full year of the one-to-one deployment. So we did a full handout of all students have the option of either bringing their own device at the middle high school or using a classroom or using their own device. And then at the elementary levels in grades 2 through 6, we have full classroom cards available, so every student has access to a device. And of course, there are devices in K and 1. Not quite as many as they'd like, but about 1 for every 2 students. So, yeah, that was very exciting. Pretty solid start of school in terms of systems, so that's been pleasant. We had a little hiccup in the network at Harold Martin the other day, and it was an unpleasant reminder that those things can happen, but hopefully we have the equipment to track that down and replace that fully, so we should be in good shape. And other than that, I'm happy to take questions.
Really quick on the I'll call it an infrastructure upgrade with the printers, and so we replaced every printer in the district, right? So we talked about that last year as the infrastructure upgrade. What we're going to do once, as of yesterday, it's final. We were waiting for it to be final. We're going to offer the community an opportunity, if they're in need of a printer, we're going to donate the printers to the community. So we'll have a pickup essentially with available printers for your household. Now they're a little bit bigger and robust than most households would, so it might not work, but we're going to offer it. And then if not, Matt is reaching out to districts that are in need to see if they would like the donation. So we're going to try and pay it forward a little bit with what we just did as an infrastructure upgrade, but it has made a significant difference in our campuses and in the quality of what we have. So.
Matt, can you talk a little bit about, so with the one-to-one, obviously if you have a school device, firewalls, access, you guys have built all that stuff. If I'm bringing my own device from home, how does that all work, and how do you control what kids can see, do, et cetera, during the school day?
Sure. So there's a couple layers of filtering. One, certainly every device that uses our network receives a filtered version of the internet, and there are access controls over every device that's on our Wi-Fi. That being said, obviously, some students carry cell phones. You turn off the Wi-Fi. There's limited controls, but that's been a reality for many years. But as a second layer, teachers have the option of saying, hey, sign in Chrome, turn on the sync, and there is a classroom monitoring tool that teachers can use that adds an additional layer where they can monitor what students are doing. And so if the student is not on that, the teacher knows that potentially there's some irresponsible use going on or not academically appropriate use, perhaps. So yeah, there are a couple of ways for teachers, some base level ones that apply to everyone, and then specific ones for teachers who are looking to monitor that.
Thank you.
Matt, just a compliment. I was very impressed with the feedback I got from the community on when you were dispersing laptops to our students. They said it was very well organized, helpful, and any questions their child had, you guys have been responding and helping them. And that's great, because a lot of these kids have not used a computer before like that. And I just wanted to say it's great that your team's able to help them keep it organized and answer their questions. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to work with good people.
I have two questions. One was, one of the things we talked about with the printer infrastructure and copier infrastructure upgrade was that there would basically be savings on a year-over-year, month-over-month basis because of possibly more efficient equipment and then also potentially having people use less paper because they can actually do what they need to do. Is there, like, I don't know what our analytics was like before, but is there the ability to basically be able to track that and see if we're sort of like how we're performing against a unstated target?
So that's what SBC does specifically. Yeah. That's why that number can come down.
Right.
So when that number, so they do they run all the print numbers.
Yeah,
I don't know the words of the software, sorry.
Yeah, the software is called PaperCut. It's basically a print tracking and management software, and that's actually the very last piece of the project. We had a conference call today, so that's getting set up next Monday. So that'll be the last piece of that project, but we'll be tracking from that.
And then is there also like best practices that they provide in terms of like reducing printing or usage so that people can like start to wean off of paper, et cetera, and or misprints?
Yeah, I definitely have to get with them and see what is available. I know some of the options include redirecting large jobs to the most efficient copiers, and so they're not going to a printer. Copiers tend to be somewhat lower cost per page. And then making sure that you're using duplexing where available, things like that. So there definitely are some controls to help encourage people to be efficient. It also has the somewhat nasty ability to print out a sort of leaderboard of, who's printed the most pages and exactly how many trees you've killed, as well as the number of pounds of CO2 you put in the atmosphere.
I think that's terrific. So. It is terrible and helpful to see.
Yes.
Okay, so then my other two questions were, and this might be, the first part might be more of a Matt plus Mike question, but one of the things we've talked about is that we have Parent Square, which is awesome. Love it as parents, fantastic. But one of the things that we lost out on by migrating to that was being able to have community members also sign up as part of the listserv. Is there, like, and this might go back towards a comms question or otherwise, but is there a way to, like, spin up a community instance of something off of Parent Square so that we can send out more information that way? Or
So we're having internal discussions around that. Matt did a great job. We already reached out to Parent Square to see how much more it would cost.
Great.
So we have that number internally. You can notice there's an uptick in our Facebook, what we have going on. So we have leadership discussions on what what is parent communication versus what is community communication. So it's going to go back to the communication goals. I'm not looking at you on the other. Okay. It's going to go back, and one of Matt's goals that he wrote up for this year is directly involving what you just asked.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. Then my last question is, do we have Google Analytics installed on the website so as we're moving through budget season or otherwise we can sort of see if people are coming to our site and availing themselves of resources?
That is not a question for me.
No, that's definitely not a question.
And honestly, the answer is I don't recall. I know we did it on the old site, and in all this, I will double check and get back to you on that.
Okay, just because as we're trying to, for the finance committee, one of the things we're trying to figure out is how to make information more accessible to the community. And so if we can figure out, I mean, there's architecture stuff that we can't fix on finance, but ideally, like, if we're able to help look at that, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
How many printers are you looking?
He's fine.
Sorry. It was my own sigh. Sorry.
Okay, no, the printers, how many are there to be available to the public? I just wanted a number,
We don't know that yet.
A couple dozen, probably.
Yeah, because we want to make sure we're providing the public with something that works.
Yes.
We don't want to tell them to show up and then they go home and say, what did we do? So there's an evaluation of what is good and what, because we had some that were 2000, what was the crazy number, 9?
No, 1999.
1999. So
Great year.
So we don't know that number yet. Once we do, we'll communicate it appropriately.
yeah, I just want to have like a ballpark number in case people are
I
thinking.
can't give you one.
Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Matt, I have one more, sorry. And this is probably gonna be more for next month in the budget cycle, but, when we started the one-to-one, the concern was, how do we retire and renew? So could you just walk us through a little bit about percentage-wise, what you would see going forward, devices that are gonna get retired and maybe moved out into the public, if they're still usable, or what are we thinking about that?
So the goal ultimately would be to have roughly a 4-year cycle for the Chromebooks, so looking at replacing 25% of our fleet per year. Obviously, we bought about 60% of our fleet in a single year because of COVID. So what we've been trying to do is, A, put a little money away. We created the technology fund specifically for that purpose, understanding that there would be a time that 600 Chromebooks are going to need to be retired at once, and that's a big hit for our budget. The other thing is trying to buy somewhat aggressively in the first couple of years after that to have some ability to absorb that, understanding that some of our devices, we held on to everything during COVID. We didn't retire anything until this past summer, even stuff that was really beyond its usable life. It was better than nothing, so we held on to it.
So, I think what I'm hearing you saying is you're considering building some inventory now.
Correct.
And holding that until when you'll need it. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that we're still trying to evaluate is what is the loss rate or rate of non-economic repair over the course of the year. We have essentially 1 year's worth of data. That data is very good. I had worst case data at 10 to 12% losses. It was, I believe, less than 3%, so that was really great. But obviously, failure rates tend to follow we call it the bathtub curve. There's an initial failure rate, defects or whatever, and then a certain number of years of good service, and then the failure rate starts to rise again as the equipment wears out. So once we hit the upper part of that bathtub-shaped curve, it's usually time to bail. Otherwise, you spend all your staff time doing repairs.
Another thing that we're investigating is insurance policy or discussion. I had brought up to Matt in my previous districts that I worked with in the town I live in is a required purchase of an insurance plan for your Chromebook every year. The town I live in, we have to pay $15 a year, and that covers the keys, screens, loss, water damage, all those things. Well, we want to find that happy medium of what fits for the community. My district that I previously worked in, it was, for our middle school, it was $30 for 3 years, so you get 3 years of coverage for 30. So it's different throughout the state, but we're looking into, as we move towards deploying these more, protection to help fix.
Thanks.
Other questions? No? Thank you so much, Matt. Got nothing.
You're up, Andy.
Hi. So, thanks everybody. I just want to really start with saying that I owe a massive thank you to building administrators, IAs, staff, whoever else was around that chipped in while we were waiting to fill all of our IA positions. And I say that with, we needed like 7. Which sounds scary, but honestly, 2 weeks before we started school, people were talking about needing classroom teachers and like 30 plus people. I talked to somebody today who still needs 14. So I'm just going to say we're good. This is great. But they were really supportive. One of the IAs that we're covering was me because it needed to happen. But they really helped me too, going, oh, but an easier way to do this here is. And I haven't been in buildings in this form since I've been here. So it was wonderful, and they were great, so flexible. Happy to say that we're pretty much there. You still got a couple more to go, but in a position now where you can get by okay. Not that it's great, and I don't want anybody to pretend I don't think those positions are important, but where we were and where we are, it's a big sigh of relief. For me, especially, because I do not have to be an IA anymore. But I'm so thankful for the people that were able to bring to the table, too. And I think we might even have a plan for the bus monitor, so then even that's done, so I'm pretty excited. But I'll have more details on that in a couple weeks. But so that everything started well. Just to kind of give you a brief overview, these are the numbers I'm about to give you are really unofficial. There's no official enrollment numbers yet. It's not due till October 1st. And really, what we're talking about with IEP numbers and 504s, there's lots of factors that make these numbers unofficial. So I wanted to start with that. We're servicing about 175 students through an IEP right now, and about 75-ish with a 504. And just some brief explanations as to the unofficial. Forget just not official enrollment numbers. We had a lot of kids this year move in from out of state, and what that typically means is we have to find them eligible in New Hampshire. Most people don't care about this. I find it very intriguing, so I'm going to share it anyway. So we have, every state has different rules that are in excess above federal regulations. For example, for us, we have rules in excess for specific learning disability eligibility that requires a classroom observation. You come from Florida, they don't. Well, that means you're not eligible in New Hampshire. Until we find you out. Well, we'll do the things and we'll do all the stuff. So there are some kiddos that we know already are going to be IEP eligible in New Hampshire. We just have to do our due diligence and get through that process, so those numbers will go up. But then there's also some other factors with making sure that enrollment is where it is. So when we talk percentages and things like that, it's nothing official. I'll have something more concrete, in a month or so, but that's where we stand with those. And then really just wanted to give you a brief overview, a couple of trainings we have coming in between all that. We have 5 new case managers, we have new administrators. So actually starting today, a couple of 3 of our case managers started a case management training series with the West Central Directors Group, being led by Carol Kuzniski, which some of you might remember that name. So they'll participate in that to really just be reminded, here's the process, here's what you do, here's the paperwork. They can hear it from me, but we're all doing our jobs while we're here, so to sit and really hear feedback from other people is just so valuable. And we'll also be sending in October some other staff to be trained as LEAs in the district. And those LEAs serve at all of our IEP meetings as representatives of the district that really are the ones who are going to be like, oh, I'm the person signing that financially this is all okay. There's more to it than that, but that's a big component. So we'll be sending people for that training as well to make sure that all of those things are in place. And even though I want to be at every meeting, I can't. So we want to make sure who's over there is prepared to be there. So everybody's looking forward to that. It's great. And then really the rest that I want to report on today is really what I want to look for the next year. Is continuing to work with Rebecca and the building administrators to really hone in on our RTI system and RTI models across the district in maybe a different way than I had presented to you before, which is exciting because we can and should, because that's just one big impact all the way across the board. I'm going to be working with the guidance counselors, school counselors, as well, just really making those 504 frameworks more consistent and working on those plans, working with the case managers for compliance, consistency, all those things. We meet monthly anyway, so we'll continue to work on that. And the other piece for me is one of my goals that I want to work on this year is really working with staff, parents, community members, whoever it may be, to really just engage them more in the process that we do. Just again, just that deeper understanding what that looks like. I'm giving you that nugget. I can tell you right now I do not have a set plan because I've been being an IA and a bus monitor, so I don't have that plan prepared today. But you will have it the next time we come back together and I report out. But really for me, my focus for this whole year is just like one tiered system, one team type of approach. So that's really what I'm working towards for the year. And yeah, so that's
Just really quick,
questions.
I could fly the flag of all of our team members that come up here, but I don't think you can say enough what Mandy does at the start of this school year specifically. She's been riding a bus in the morning. At what time do you get on?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:25,
Gets on a bus. What time do you get off?
8 o'clock.
So, and then what time's the afternoon run?
I have to be at Harold Martin by 2 so I can get a parking spot.
Yeah.
But I'm on the bus at 2:20.
And so that's talking about doing whatever it takes for our kids. She's at Harold Martin, she's at Maple Street, she's at the middle high school, she is everywhere. There probably isn't a harder working individual right now than Mandy. She is worse at accepting a compliment than Michelle. But you'll see tonight that we're going to move our final IA forward for hire. We think we have a bus monitor plan, so that means Mandy can get back to some sort of sanity and focus on that. But without Mandy, I'm not sure where we would be with the start of the school year. So thank you. Thank you.
I'm not open up to questions, but I just had a quick one. Just RTI, can you remind us what that stands for?
Response to intervention.
So there's a new rule that's going to start tonight that if any educator doesn't say the real word first, they have to put money in the jar when we get back to the office. So we're going to say all
Well, we
the
might have to
words
talk
first.
about pay in the budget then if that's the case. I'm just kidding.
Response to
Kidding.
intervention. Yep.
Kidding.
Great. Questions? Comments?
I have questions. So for someone who's knows probably less about the special ed world, so just running the numbers off of our K through 12 enrollment that we talked about last week, we've got just over 19% on an IEP and over 8% on a 504. And I wasn't sure if that, 2 questions about that is, one is, how does that compare to other districts sort of like us? And then also, has that shifted over time, I guess, whether it's because of the pandemic or our approach or otherwise?
So since I've been here, those percentages are similar to what they've always been. I would say we would like it to be 16, 17.
Yep.
That feels better. But it's pretty typical for many school districts in the state to be anywhere between 18 and 20.
Yep.
Some are over that, not very many, but some are. But yeah, that's the goal, and that's when we talked about that tiered systems and getting those all aligned and really understanding those better. That's going to help with those percentages. Not the only part, but we also had a lot of move-ins this year that have IEPs, and so what I give you now might be different than what I give you in the spring, right? And when we all of it teased out, and they're all so unofficial. They're just numbers that Jeanette happened to grab for me one day last week.
Right, totally.
So what the official stuff might be might shift, but it's pretty typical though.
Yeah. And then my other question is a sort of a dual question for both of you, Becca. That you have a pretty new team this year, right? Because there's been a lot of changeover in IAs and otherwise. I would say that your team is also like a key backbone of the district. At one of the PD days coming up, I don't know, is there an opportunity to carve out time so that you could all sort of like get together and talk about what your group goals are and get to know each other and share best practices? I know we've talked about sort of doing that cohort vertical learning-ish, but it seems like your team in particular could use like some special time.
Yeah, so for special education, simply I can tell you that I spent half day with the case managers and a separate half day with just the IAs, and we did some training there. I meet monthly with the case managers anyway, and really try to work to see IAs and talk with them as much as I can, but it is hard when we only have, staff meeting days or something like that. But as far as the other groupings of things, I think that's something that we really want to dive deeper into to say what else can we bring to the table.
Great.
So we're working on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I kill it with kindness. Is that okay now?
Yes.
No, Mandy, I have to say, I've received a significant amount of feedback saying your team has been great in these meetings with these students. Have these students actually be able to talk to you on why they're there and stuff has just brought a whole new meaning to them, feeling that their voice is being heard. And so I just wanted to say, I commend you and your team for a well-organized group of listening to the students and working together to get them through their 504 IEPs. It's great to hear that from our community, so thank you.
It's good to hear. Thank you. And that's really all about the team, because I've only been here this is my second year where it wasn't hybrid or remote or something different. So the level of knowledge they have for their students is pretty impressive. So we wouldn't have that without their history.
Other questions? No?
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy. Mr.
Okay.
Rizicki, last but not least.
Good evening, Board. James Rosicki, Director of Facilities. Thanks for another opportunity to come up for an update. I'm a little less overwhelmed than I was last update, so I'm glad that I'm settling in slowly. But thanks for having me back. Just like last time, I just want to give just 2 buckets of updates. One is staff, and then another is everything else. So, but I promise I'll be brief. I'm currently, again, just settling in. I'm a full-on inventory and analysis mode of all of your schools and buildings. It is just a lot going in my head, got a lot going on paper, a lot going into plans. Mike talks me off the ledge a lot, so does Michelle, and I'm grateful for their leadership and support on that, but there's just a lot of things to do and a lot of cool things up ahead of us, so I want to start off with that. It's all positive, it really, really is. So second most positive thing is almost like Mandy, an update on my staff. We are fully staffed, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Just in my listservs for facilities directors, like there are school districts that are severely hurting for staff, and they're going out to labor ready or other labor opportunities that are outside of the district and are just really, really struggling cleaning their buildings and maintaining them. So I'm really glad with the staff that I have. I think we're at that point of really getting to know each other. They're knowing how I tick, I know how they tick. There's a common respect. I really appreciate them all. We've had some good talks, great heart-to-hearts. I think we're at an understanding of expectation. Again, there's a lot more in my mind that I want to do with training and rewards programs and give them more tools to do their job. But it's like, all right, can't do everything one day. So, but it's been really good to be with them. And again, they all care about their job, and I'm very thrilled to develop them more as they're going to develop me more. So I'm grateful for them. Since the beginning of the year, we adjusted some custodial schedules just based upon my analysis and feedback of where people are at square footage wise, just to create some fairness and get some things on paper. I do have an update that I want to give either next meeting or the meeting after, just about like how we stack up, like custodian per square footage, time stamps, like what's our expectation levels based on those. So I've already finished that analysis, and I want to present it to you guys at some point in document form. So yeah, we moved some staff around. 2 different people switched areas just for an hours thing, and I believe that they're settling in nice. We did some training for just different processes that I had in my mind and my experience, which are well received. We actually spent quite a bit of time in this building in particular, and Harold Martin. We've cleaned out like old chemicals that we're not using and aerosols, and just took a really good inventory of what we just have in the schools. And just a sustainability plug, we're going green. Like we are in that direction. Like we're not using harsh chemicals any longer. Like that is a big no-no. Some of that stuff I've offered, not to dump it off, but I did offer it to my facilities group if anybody was interested in. So some of that stuff did go away, environmentally speaking, of course. So whatever they do with that, it's their thing, but it's good to get it out of the building and into the hands of somebody else that could use it. I want to give this on a more regular basis, but just a little bit about how we do our work orders. Again, I have 10 custodians and 1 full-time maintenance personnel, and work orders are spread out really between the day custodians, because they have light maintenance built into their contract, and also my full-time maintenance person. So from September 1st until today, we had 55 requests overall. We closed 34 of them, and we have 21 open. So our rate is 62% that we're getting work orders completed. I know you're probably like, well, what does that mean? What's that based on? We really, at least in my previous role, we wanted to be around like 85% complete in a month. Again, we're going to get there at some point, but I just want to let you know where we're at now. And I'm going to track this and give it to you guys in document. Corresponding with that, one of the challenges that I have, and this is the only challenge that I have right now in the custodial maintenance, is outages and covering staff. Again, I was telling somebody, like, last Friday we had 3 people out. That is a third of my staff, and I'm like, how are we going to get this done? So again, it's creativity. I think we've at least 3 to 4 days a week I have a staff member out, either a scheduled day, doctor's appointment, they're out sick, something else, a pre-scheduled date, and covering that has been a challenge. So I got some ideas for budget time. If I have a day person call out, my maintenance guy is there. He's 8 hours doing custodial, so that's 8 hours of maintenance that is not getting done. I'm troubled by that. That's hard to keep that maintenance machine going. So again, I got other ideas. It's going to take time to really figure out other best protocols and how we handle that, but that is one of my challenges at this point. So. All right, again, I'll move into just other quick points that I wanted to get in front of you guys. First and foremost, really bummed we were not selected for any of the grants for the first round that we put in. So again, I think over $3 million was already designated. There's still 7, I think, more to go. That is being evaluated right now, so fingers crossed.
Actually, there's 11.
11, okay.
Yeah, so the initial grant is 14 point something or another. I think Jim and I made a joke. If you look at the list, you can see that the funds were dedicated to essentially 2 districts, if not 3. So they all got the initial funding that came directly from the state, I believe. The next round, our applications automatically get entered into that. So
correct.
But there's no timeline on that. We were trying to figure that out. They did not give us any timeline of when the next one's coming around.
This fall.
Yeah. So when we know, you'll know.
I wish we could do that. Yeah. But yeah, to Mike's point, we were surprised and had a joke about it. But fingers crossed. We're going to hope to get it. The other good news is the state approval for Harold Martin and Maple Street. We had 2 outstanding items that we had to take care of for school approval. One was the basement over at Maple Street, which that was corrected. And then we had some ADA sink guards that needed to be installed over at Maple Street, at Harold Martin, which pictures were sent to the state. They approved us right away, so we're good to go on that. The boiler over at Harold Martin, about 90% installed. They should actually be firing that up at the end of the week, so maybe a little bit over 90%, so grateful for that. The BPS is coming back to do a punch list on October 7th, which is a PD day, to both schools. The air handler that's being replaced is October 7th as well, over at Maple Street, so if you have kids and want to see a huge crane out in front, they can do it. Working with the carpet installer to schedule the remaining carpet for this building and Harold Martin. We're going to do that. They agreed to do some weekends. We got December break to look forward to, so it's just a lot. A quick thing on EOP and safety. We met, principals have been emergency operations plan for the district. State put out a new template. I'm so sorry for these acronyms. I can name a million of them.
We're going to put a jar right on the table here, visual effect.
So emergency operations plan, new template from the state. Everybody's kind of bugged out, but better part is they did reduce a lot of redundancy, that makes sense. But they did simplify it a whole lot more to make it easier. Principals have been doing an awesome job, so we're at that point, we're almost ready to submit, but they're due on October 15th. Mike was like, hey, get Homeland Security in here for more audits this fall. So I called him. He's like, hey, I'm your guy for your area. You want me to do audits, or how would you like to set up a call with everyone to review your plans before submission? I'm like, yeah, great. So today was the day. We had principals on the line, and he was very impressed. We have a Homeland Security audit, Carrie's the big winner over at Maple Street, so we got her school being audited on November 7th is going to be our first one, and we're going to hopefully get the other 2 done before the end of the year. That puts us in great position for grants and everything else, and gets us, an outside opinion on how our schools are. So that's going well. Last but not least, safety committee meeting, which I'm involved in now, is on Thursday, and I've had the pleasure of chatting with Dulcie quite a bit on CIP. This is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And before we haven't gotten to the nitty-gritty of numbers and projects yet, but it was just really great to recognize the same vision on we need some goals, we need some pillars, we need some framework of how we're going to make decisions as a committee and the future, and what are those filters we're going to pass every one of those big projects through. And I'm really, really excited about that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun fall and winter up ahead. So that's my update.
Love it.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I know I keep throwing things out here, but when we first day of school, I send you guys typically a first day, how's it going, things like that, and we have a survey essentially filled out. And I told Jim this about 2 days after school had started, that the feedback when it says what's great, it was all facilities and campus. It was remarkable. They said they've never seen it as clean as it has. They've never seen the grounds look as impeccable as they have. Their rooms were clean. So not just what Jim has brought, but how he's empowering others and showing them how, it's really made a significant difference. So just wanted to throw that, because that's the staff speaking to you. That's real facts. So.
No, credit given to them. If you guys see them in the hallways, say thanks, good job. That goes a million miles. So give them props. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry, Rob.
Nope, not at all. Homeland audit. What does that mean? What are we auditing?
Those 3 buckets. It's safety and security, surveillance, and emergency alerting. Those are the 3 goals that they look for. So it's all of our cameras. Are they covering all the right areas? Do we have card access? Do we have an accountability system? How is our key system? Are there anything? It's all that ground level stuff, front entranceway to this building, that. That's what they look at. Do we have bollards in front of the school? So anything from an outsider wanting to come in is their first level. And then secondly, it's how are the people, the occupants of the building, getting out, or how are they controlling a possible emergency situation? And again, they're using the disclaimer, this are only recommendations. They're not saying this is law, this is absolutely critical. They do a pretty comprehensive report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is your purview, but honestly, 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, we talked about the blinking light at Harold Martin, and it got fixed on those guys were out on Wednesday morning, which never happens. And I was like, are you? And they're like, we're fixing it. And I was like, slow down. It was amazing. It is fixed. It has definitely made a difference also. So thank you.
It was just a call to DOT.
Yes, but still.
Yeah.
So Mike stole my thunder. That's exactly what I've been hearing from the community. They walk around, especially here at the fair when they were here at the high school. They noticed a big difference in the outside and everything looking great. And
oh, thanks.
It's great to see. And lastly, it's great to hear that we're still applying for grants. Last time you were here, you were at 9, and hopefully that some of these come into fruition. But it's great to hear that we're still looking for ways to get grants for the school to help alleviate pressure in our budget.
Great.
Can I ask one more question? So since you provided numbers, which is amazing, so if you're at 60% ticket fill percentage basically, for your work orders, do they get indexed? This is really just me being a dork, but do they get indexed based off of effort or urgency, or how does that happen, and then what's the other 38% look like?
So when the work order comes in, I have to approve it, I have to sign it and make sure everything's tight on it, and I can set a due date to it. So yeah, we can geek out on that and really nail down.
Left of this month,
yeah.
So you're selling yourself short a little bit.
Exactly. So we can get to that point if you really want to drill down into that.
No, it's great. I mean,
So-
it's just really interesting to understand the process of how it happens in the school, because I don't think we've gotten that level of
You have.
information before, which is awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna leave it at that for now.
Yep. Yeah.
It will tweak it and refine it to like make it more, like, I should have it maybe like a week before the meeting to be like, this is the true numbers, and maybe give you an update on the month prior to see where we're at. So,
I think it's great.
yeah,
Awesome. Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
It could be something as simple as an executive summary that goes in that folder too, so.
We'll do that.
So that you don't have to come.
Excellent. Any other questions? No?
It's really
Thank you
exciting.
so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
This is very helpful update. All right.
I'm done for
You
now.
are done. Okay, so we are moving on to sustainability. So part of our goals this year were to put together an energy management plan committee, I've called it an energy steering committee. I don't know what we want to call this committee, but basically putting together a board-led committee that is focused on creating an energy management plan for the district. So in order for us to do that, we need a charter. And I went ahead and took a first stab at a charter, and I popped it into the board folder. I will go ahead and read it so that everybody can hear it, and then we can punch and kick this as needed. And then once it looks good, tonight I would like to go ahead and approve this and start getting going, figuring out who we would like on this committee so that they can start that work. So energy, I'm just going to read it and then we can discuss it. Energy Steering Committee Charter. Charge, recognizing that the development and implementation of a comprehensive energy management plan is needed in light of the increasing cost and decreasing supply of conventional energy sources. The Energy Steering Committee will make recommendations to the Hopkinton School Board in order to create an energy management plan for achieving energy and cost savings in the Hopkinton School District. The committee will consider key elements of the plan, including but not limited to facilities and grounds, capital improvement plan, curriculum, staffing, professional development, effective and appropriate use of technology, and possible outcomes include but are not limited to budgetary considerations, formation of a CIP plan through the budgetary process, new or revised policies, curriculum changes. And then kind of the nitty-gritty of the committee will elect co-chairs among its members and will report on progress to the school board as needed. The committee may establish subcommittees with a defined scope of work to help carry out the committee's charge. The committee may invite members of the public, district staff, or other experts to assist in its work as determined. The representatives of the school board will call the first committee meeting not more than 30 days after the school board votes to establish the committee. The committee will remain in effect until dissolved by a vote of the school board. The Energy Steering Committee will conduct meetings in public and in accordance with the provisions of RSA 91A. Members of the Hopkinton Committee are encouraged to attend meetings of the curriculum. You can see that I pulled that from our previous charter. Are encouraged to attend meetings of the Energy Steering Committee as well as a school board meeting and participate in the process. That's it. Thoughts?
Sounds great.
Oh, that's a great thought. Did I miss anything?
I have some questions.
Absolutely, yes.
So you have like these bullet points for key elements of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like not very clear to me how some of them would be related to it. I guess I just don't know what the main purpose of the plan would be. But like curriculum, staffing, and professional development, how does that have to do with the energy plan?
Sure, I can tell you how I envision it, and folks can certainly jump in. So, like specifically with curriculum, and this may or may not, like this might happen, it might not, some school districts have a curriculum component to their energy savings, and so they work sustainability into their curriculum somehow. So like that would be the curriculum component. I don't know if there's either staffing or, some additional trainings that staff might need if we implement new energy policies. So that's sort of where like the staffing and professional development pieces come in. But it could also be that the committee meets and they're like, we don't need any of that, and then that's fine too.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I was just wondering.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know if I haven't read this very well, but I don't see the word sustainability in here. Is that like a thing we're avoiding, or is it just you're using different words in this context?
I mean, I can take a stab at answering this, but again, folks can jump in. I think we've talked a lot about sustainability, and the word itself is sort of nebulous. It's really hard to define and to pin down. And so part of the board discussion was creating really an energy management plan. So we're really focused just on energy. There will be a sustainability component to it, but different folks kind of conceptualize sustainability in different ways. So that's why it's not necessarily in this charge, but that doesn't mean that it won't be an outcome of the plan. Hold on. Did you have something?
No, continue,
Okay.
go.
Oh, I guess I just wasn't completely sure what this committee's goal was, because I thought it was more geared toward the energy sustainability side of things, but I understand it's more general is what you're saying. More general energy.
Yeah.
Well, the charge, or this isn't the goal setting, so this committee will then form, I think, what you're looking for, the targeted goals.
Yeah.
And I think the key words are for achieving energy and cost savings, right?
Yes.
And then also looking at the factors contributing to that as being increasing costs and decreasing supply. So I think that basically gets to, we want to minimize our energy usage, and that's tied to cost savings as well, but being able to minimize the impact of utilization.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. You want me to-
No, she answered.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, the only thing that crossed my mind is not to throw you in the spotlight, when you guys did this at your last location, how did you guys start your process?
For Jim at Oyster River?
Okay, yeah.
That might be a very different process.
Exactly like this?
All right.
Perfect. That's exactly. Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Those are perfect. Thank you. Any other thoughts to this? Do we want to include any more words or take out anything? All right. Yes, and this really the point. So the point of this, I should have been more clear with that. So in order to establish a new committee of the board, you have to have really a charge or a mission for that committee, and then ta-da, we'll vote on it, and it will be.
That's different from the goals of the.
It is, yeah. And then once the committee, has their co-chairs to it, then they'll go ahead and they'll figure out what the goals are for the year, because there might be multiple goals over several years, but it's so that this committee, we're focused on energy. They can't come to us and tell us, I don't know, something totally different.
I think the last line of the charge is the focal point, that's achieving energy and cost savings in the Hopkinton School District. That's-
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, if this looks good as presented, I'm going to go ahead and look for a motion to approve and are we okay with the term Energy Steering Committee? I just went with, we had a strategic plan, or a strategic, whatever, steering committee, so that's what we got now. Great, thank you.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful, so this is officially a committee, so the next thing we need to go ahead and do then are decide which two board members, plus I believe Flo is interested in joining as our student rep, and Noah may join her as well, would like to co-chair this committee. So I see Dulcie, for sure, excellent.
Yes.
Anyone else interested?
I nominate Dulcie as the chair.
Great, Dulcie.
Yes, thank you.
You're chair of this.
Be thrilled to pieces. Jim and Flo, it's gonna be great.
Okay.
I'm happy, unless you, I mean, I'm happy to,
Yeah.
happy to do with you.
Jim's like hard now.
Local environmental.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Great, we'll just mind you for.
You can use me
expert
any way you
knowledge.
want, just
Great.
not do it.
Great, sounds good.
Excellent.
Sounds
So
Maybe we'll
Norm,
work together, I don't know.
you're willing to step up as well?
Yeah, sure, I'm on a lot
Wonderful.
of committees, so.
Excellent.
Happy to
Okay.
work with LC, but you're chairing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Great, so you guys can figure out a time that follows all the same RSA 91A rules, so those will be posted. Members of the public are welcome to attend. Good luck. We look forward to hearing committee updates.
Great, terrific.
Great. It's exciting, very exciting.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we next?
We are in Tobacco.
I lost my agenda. Great.
Switching gears, I was just
Thanks, Jim.
updating the committee structure for the district.
Oh.
All right, so last month I got to talk to all of you about professional development and what we've been doing to date on professional development. This month I get to talk to you a little bit about assessment, and I chose to talk about some of the larger assessments we do with large groups of students in the district. So in your folder is a little PDF that just kind of,
Title 920 Report on Assessments.
can I just call it a PDF? Is that an acronym I have to worry about?
When you tell us what
I
it
think
is.
we're good.
I'd like to highlight in my report that I labeled it with a large name and in parentheses put the acronym for all of them. With the exception of SAT, because little known fact perhaps, a few years ago they dropped what it actually stood for and they only refer to it now as the SAT. So back in the day, it used to be a student achievement test. They no longer want to call it that. They just want it to be an SAT. There we go. All right, so the first one to talk about is the New Hampshire Statewide Assessment System that we use. That is the New Hampshire SAS. And that is our state mandated test that we do with grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 does science this way. 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade are science. Just some basic facts about it. We have a window that we get to do this test within. So we chose the latter part of the window. So the end of April and May of last year, we did do our test. And it's all done on a computer. SAT is the state test for juniors, so that replaces, instead of New Hampshire SAS, they do take the SAT in the areas of math, reading, and writing. So that is their state test. They are able to use those scores if they want to when applying for colleges or other things. They can also retake it if they didn't like it. Whatever score they get on our set date is their state score, but they can take it a different time and use different scores if they want to when applying for colleges. That is also done on the computer. PSAT, that is what it's called. There is no acronym there other than that. That's delivered in October. There's some national dates that we elect to choose which national date we want to participate. That is taken by all of our juniors, and then any sophomores who want to take it can sign up. They register to take it as well. So that's that test. This year we're doing it paper and pencil. Next year, I think we're going to explore using the computers for it, but this year it is the paper pencil test. Advanced placement tests, those are pretty standard for us to do. So we offer a number of advanced placement courses at the high school. And if students choose to, we do not mandate that they take the advanced placement test, but if they choose to take the advanced placement test, they can. Scoring a 3 or higher may afford them college credit. I say may because in most cases, colleges do accept it, but there are some colleges that say, we really actually want you to take that calculus our way with our calculus, so they don't necessarily receive the AP credit for it. That's just an example of a class, but that does happen from time to time.
But in the state of New Hampshire,
We're good in the state of New
universities,
Hampshire.
colleges
Absolutely.
do accept.
Yep. Yep. And quite honestly, for kiddos, that's a great option. If nothing else, it moves you higher on your room selection options because you have more credits, and it moves you higher on your class selection because you have more credits. So sometimes those are small advantages in addition to perhaps not having to take the early level college courses because you achieve those credits through what they consider a college level rigor in a high school class, which is great. The next one that I listed out, the assessment of performance toward proficiency in languages, we are extremely excited about. Maybe you recall a couple years ago under Madame Cotnoir's incredible enthusiasm and willingness to take a risk to try something new for the betterment of students. She helped convert our way of teaching world languages into organic world language called the OWL method. And so as some of you said when you saw her, you walk in the room, it is in that language from the moment you walk in until the moment you leave. That happens in our Spanish, our French, and our German classes. And it's a movement, it's activity, it's games, it's songs, it's connecting with each other, it's kind of learning the vocabulary and the mechanisms of the language as you need it. So rather than sit down and conjugating lots and lots and lots of verbs, it's understanding the tense of the verb as you need it during your conversation, during the activity you're doing, the reading that you're doing, things like that. It is a phenomenal way of teaching. We've seen great gains anecdotally, but we had a really hard time knowing for sure. So we're going off a gut a lot. And what the Apple testing is, it is a nationally normed test that the kids can take in the primary areas, speaking, listening, writing, and comprehension. And it'll give us it aligns to the national standards which we use here, and it will give them their proficiency levels starting with novice low as an absolute beginner, moving up to advanced intermediate. That's typically where we can see some of our level 5s get to. This will perhaps lead us down the road, which I know Madame is very excited to try to do, looking to, if students do pass at a certain level, by the time they graduate, they can get a seal of biliteracy for their diploma. That is a huge, huge benefit. So this, starting this testing, we're going to do a pilot next week. Otherwise, we'll be testing in the spring at the end of the school year, but we're just going to kind of do a baseline pilot to understand what the test is all about, kind of what we maybe need to look at in our curriculum between now and when we test for actual proficiency levels at the end, and just kind of get a feel for all of it right now. So we're really excited about that next week. And some of the other ones you may have heard about, they happen more in our elementary schools. We use something called AimsWeb. It doesn't have anything that it stands for, it's just called AimsWeb. That's a benchmark, which means we give that test periodically throughout the school year. It tests the same skills each time you give the test, and we're checking to see are they making progress on set skills. We do that in the areas of reading and math. So right now we are finishing our benchmark, our first benchmark of the year. We use this data to try to help us develop our intervention groups. So when we notice a certain skill, reading comprehension, whatever it might be, that might be lower for a student, we can kind of pull them for extra additional support and help. And this is kind of a tool that helps us know who may need that help, and then are they making the gains we hope they made once they are getting the help that they need. Early Bird is brand new. It is absolutely adorable. Last year we piloted it in kindergarten. This year we rolled it out in kindergarten and first grade. They just finished their first assessment of the year in Early Bird. It's taken on an iPad. So if you could picture little kindergartners with their iPads, it has this really adorable little character named Pip. And Pip goes on a little journey by 12 little icons along the screen. And each little icon is a little game that the kids play. And they love to play the little game and have Pip get all excited and make a new friend. and then move on to the next level, which is a different skill. And so these are 12 different literacy skills that students need to be early readers. It is very scientifically based, which is excellent. It does follow the science of reading. It is a screener for potential dyslexia. So it gives us some of the early warning or risk factors that kids might have if that's something that we need to pay attention to for them. And it lets us know of those 12 key skills where students are at and what we need to do to help fortify those skills for them as they become very early readers.
Awesome.
Yes, so that was fun. The kids finished it and they said, can I do it again? Can I do it again? They really wanted to do that one.
Can I just do this?
School was great. Thanks, Mom.
Ask about Pip. Okay. So we're right at the stage. We've collected a lot of data. I did give you a couple of screenshots. If you move past what we noticed and what we want to dig deeper on, I did kind of give you some of the scores. Again, they haven't been officially
Still embargoed, so.
Yeah, they're not like official yet. So they are. I just wanted to share at least where we were with our proficiency levels. We do have a couple of areas that we maybe just need to kind of have some conversations and dig a little deeper on. Overall, we're above state averages in pretty much all the areas. That's not to say we stop when we hit state average, but we're doing okay. We have work to do for sure, but we're doing okay. I think now that we've kind of got this data, I've had a lot of fun meeting with different teams. I've met with the literacy team a couple of times. They're a great, energetic group of ladies. I've met with the math specialists a few times. And we are talking a lot about what we're doing, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, how do we know it's what we need to be doing. So like Mike would say, what is the work and how do we know it's the work? And so we'll be using a lot of this data, which I love to geek out on that. We're going to kind of use our team time together to do our own data dives and to really pick it apart at a more granular level. And then we're going to practice it, and then they will do that work then with the individual grade level data teams. Coinciding with this is, I know I'm not supposed to talk curriculum, this is assessment, but coinciding with this is some curriculum work we're going to be doing on October 7th, which will really help us get a very good picture of what we are teaching to mastery at each grade level so that we can start to have some more vertical conversations, meaning we talk on a K through 12 spectrum of the different subject areas and what's going on. So we're laying the foundation work for all of that, which is exciting, and it does start with the assessment data. I think Mandy and I have partnered with a few conversations around really picking apart the data that we have as it pertains to students on an individual education plan, IEP, or students who need extra support, students who are involved in an intervention, to really make sure that we're targeting as we should and at a pace that makes sense for us. I do want to mention with the New Hampshire SAS, they are about to release a parent portal. The state will be releasing a parent portal.
Finally.
So we will be issuing ID numbers for all of the parents. Parents will receive ID numbers that they can use to log in, and they can see their students' individual score reports. So
Are they dating it back to when they started?
no.
Just.
Yep, no. So,
Start.
from an energy savings though, we don't have to print off all the reports look terrible if you don't print them in color, and it is such a incredible suck of resources to have to print all of those reports in color to send home. So it's very nice that they've opened up this parent portal. We can share ID numbers and parents can get that information themselves, which is going to be fabulous. So that should happen within the next month.
We mailed them home before. Did Hopkinton ever mail them home or? No? Okay.
Moving on. Parent portal is great.
I know, I'm sorry, this is so exciting.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so there was three grades and subjects from the SAS score chart that seemed like they, not just us, but the entire state, had a really high percentage non-proficient.
So,
Great.
just, it's embargoed data.
So we can't talk
So I
about
can't talk about it.
exactly the numbers.
And SAT scores are also embargoed. So, can I even ask a broad question?
You can ask
not
a
about
broad
the classes?
question, yeah.
So, if there's grades and subjects that seem like they have a higher than normal percentage of non-proficient, and that's common across the state, is that something that's like a COVID
So that
response, or
also.
what happens in education?
So I'm gonna talk non-geek stuff, but that's why I have a feeling some of this still isn't finalized yet, because when they review their data, sometimes you talk about audit and they eliminate questions if it was just, like, if everyone got it wrong, there might have been a way it was interpreted wrong.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Interesting, okay.
No, so I went to Mike earlier, like, panicked, stressing a little bit about how best to present the data to you. And this is my tech background kind of kicking in, because the state will easily give us reports, and we can date back to the first year of it, right? But if you look at 2019, 20, 21 and 22, like if you look at all of those results, a couple things are really hard for us. One is you've got the COVID dip that everybody has. So it was a different measure because that test that we did take happened in the fall, not in the spring.
Right.
So it broke that kind of
Some took it at home, some took it at school.
Right, totally.
Yeah, and then last year we had a new math program that does change your data point.
Totally.
So it's something. It's still valid information. It's good information to look at, but it's good information to say, here are some big pieces. Let's dig deeper and look at the more granular strands, and then based on those strands, so like numeracy. Let's take the strand of numeracy. Let's look at our other kinds of assessments that we use and pull them in to triangulate this data. So we're not just grabbing, because a lot of times, like the New Hampshire SAS, it will be related. You could have anywhere between like 2 to 4, maybe if you're really lucky, 5 questions on that strand that they're basing their proficiency levels off of. So you have to be cautious. It's like they're really great things to make you go ask more questions and look at other pieces of data.
Yeah.
But it's not like chisel this in granite, this is what it means.
Yeah. I think that's excellent context, because it does seem like there could be highly confounding questions in here that are driving spikes across like that question set. I am definitely interested if and when either you or maybe an enterprising data intern from UNH can come and look at seriously, it's a great project. Look at some of the like long tail temporal stuff of like the COVID spike, but also looking at if we're adopting new math programs or new literacy programs. It's incredibly interesting to see how we perform against that.
And I think what's really important there is we do have to do the layer of looking at our curriculum on the spectrum, because we have curriculum.
Right.
I don't feel it's quite as smooth of a transition from one grade level to the next year. And I think that is some of what we need to guarantee we've got that, and then we can build our assessment with understanding we commit to mastery of these standards at this grade level. Okay, what assessments are we going to use to prove that?
Right.
That's where we need to kind of go, and we're not there yet.
And this is excellent baselining for you and for your role, right? Which is really, really exciting, because we get to look at this and then we get to see, as Becca does, as you do your job, how can we see changes in this as it comes through, which I think is awesome.
And it is important to see, like if you look at math scores, it's important to see where there were increases and where there may be decreases, and then to ask questions about them to understand, and to look at where they were in the curriculum, what kind of questions were asked versus sometimes it's a matter of vocabulary.
Right.
If you say it's the sum and you say it's the product, and kids know sum but they don't know product, you're out. So some of it is as simple as that. Some of it is more complicated in that notoriously, data, statistics, and probability doesn't get taught until the end of the year sometimes. And so we may see kids really tank out on that because they hadn't been exposed to it when they took the test in April. That was May's curriculum, you know? So we have to have those kinds of conversations across a grade level and then across all grade levels.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of compare it with this.
Yeah, it's just, it feels like a really rich conversation with you at the table, and I'm really excited about it, so thank you.
It just allows us to go to the next level in this work.
Exactly.
And the support that she provides. Sorry, Jim.
No, don't be sorry at all. I was just curious when the data becomes public, 'cause I know it's embargoed, so.
Shit, usually right now it's set.
Yeah.
And
We were at, again, our Friday meeting and no one had the answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's particularly late.
See, I don't want to even throw data out there because it doesn't hit. Yeah, we've heard rumors.
It's a legal thing, correct?
The state has to release them before we're able to release anything publicly.
Part of it, they do what's called, they apply what's called the business rules. And so part of that comes from, we do end of year reports, the EOYs, and that, they take the beginning of year report and the end of year report, and they help coincide like whose student was in which school for the testing, where do they count, all that kind of stuff. So it takes a look at when students may have been identified or de-identified from an IEP, from a 504, when they may have moved in or moved out of a school, and where they reside for the majority of time to count towards a test. So it's that granular layer. I think that's where they're still working through. But when that is all set, when the business rules have all been applied, then the data officially gets released.
When it's released, we can have a board discussion on what we can't really talk about right now per se, because, you know, when I look at this report, I'm not going to mention anything specific, but like I see the black dots in certain sections. I guess that's where you're taking a deep dive in on this report.
I will say for now, it's areas to watch and it's things to question.
Okay.
But until we have the curriculum where it needs to be, you're diving in Swiss cheese.
Okay.
And that's not there yet.
Okay. No, this is great to see.
I don't mean that meanly. I don't mean that in a mean way. It's not mean. It's
Echo your
just,
thoughts there.
It's reality.
You wouldn't want to dive
Great
into
to
this.
progress through
Can I
the
ask a
years.
question about the SAT as the statewide assessment? So, I guess I'm curious, this is relatively new, if you're seeing, and as the vice principal, you probably saw student buy-in being improved because it is the SAT instead of the NECAP, which had relatively no significance in their lives whatsoever. So in terms of the integrity that kids are bringing to that assessment, do you feel like that's better or the same or?
I think for the most part, we're lucky we have good kids who want to do well. I do think, as everyone does, there's a set of kiddos that just say, you know what, I'm not applying to colleges that need an SAT, I'm not so worried about it. I'm already signed up for the ACTs, that matters more to me. There's a little bit of that, but I think overall our kids are just very respectful of their teachers and of their education, and they do just try, which is, we're lucky, we're really lucky.
I'd say there's definitely an uptick in buy-in, even if it's minimal. They know that the scores are going to be reported as a school. It's different here. I keep saying that. It's very different.
Other questions? I have two questions for you. Questions. Do we no longer do STAR testing? I remember that was something we did a couple of years ago. We've done STAR testing. Excellent.
For now.
For now, great. I was just wondering. And then it seems like the top 2 pages of this report are really helpful, and I was wondering if we could share those.
Yeah, we'll cut out the other stuff.
That'd be great.
We'll put it in the public folder. So.
Perfect.
Yep.
That was it. Those are my 2.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is awesome.
thank you so much.
This is
It's helpful.
great to see.
And Becca was really trying to wrap her brain around today, right around noon, on how much, right? And I just continue to advise her that this should be more of a macro level entry point for her in her role. And then I said, let them determine what our next steps are. So We'll look for guidance as we move through the year on data dives or more specific data reports, full-blown presentations, not just for you, but for the community. It's good for everyone to hear how we're doing. And that's going to be Becca's work, so we're excited for those.
Practice a data dive with all of you someday if you like.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to me. Who wants to talk policy? You all do. I can tell. So tonight we just have one policy to talk about. We started talking about it last time. It's policy DJE regarding our bidding requirements. And the policy committee was able to meet about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago really at this point, and we were able to take a look at this policy. The changes we made were really to create sort of a tiered system as far as when bidding is required opposed to when open market purchases that we would still like to be based on 3 quotes happen versus kind of the smaller stuff. So you can see in the new proposed policy that if anything really costs $75,000 or more, it shall be based on at least 3 competitive bids, so that's the full bidding process. Anything between $25,000 to $74,999 may be made on the open market, but we would still like to see 3 competitive quotes for those. So this also means that we can go out and ask people for quotes. And then all purchases less than $25,000 may be made based on the reasonable decision of the superintendent, based on their understanding of the market, and the superintendent may choose competition, but is not required to do so. And regardless of the cost, really anything more than $5,000, while this is not in the policy, comes to the board.
I think the perfect example is what we did tonight, right? So the SAU, I shared all of that information with you. You were able to take a look at it. I think another example of when it might not come your way was last year when we did, I'll call it the chimney. We moved on the chimney because it needed to be moved on. So that was one of the ones where we solicited the work. They were able to come in a timely fashion. So those are examples. So and Michelle, I, and Jim will always keep you in the loop, especially on large, significant purchases or any work orders. But this will allow Jim the flexibility to do what he did, lock in with a contractor and get the work done in a timely fashion.
Were you part of this policy?
I was.
So is your question? Okay, great.
Jim is in fact in the policy.
This was Jim's brainchild.
Yeah, this is great, Jim. Good work.
So I guess I have just a logistical question for you, Mike. Do you need the board to waive our 3-read typical procedure to get this passed?
I'd say it's up to you. I mean, it's up to you. Will the board here?
Okay. So I'd like to propose that this would be a 2nd read with a 3rd read the next time, because we've already seen it once. We sort of talked about it, policy committee talked about it, and we're bringing it to you now. So we'll look at this and hopefully approve it at our next regular meeting. So if anyone has any comments, questions, concerns now, let me know. Or if anything comes up, the policy committee will not be meeting until the beginning of October, so just let you know.
Just throwing it out.
Our next regularly scheduled meeting, that was October 11th, so we'll meet before then. So yeah, that's the bidding policy. Did I miss anything? Jim, does that sound good? Excellent.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So my only question is, if it should be put in there that things will be surfaced to the board or not, or under review? I just don't know. I need to look at the old policy from 2014. Just the only thing that my brain keeps going back to is that I think that this gets us to where the market is in terms of a pricing and an effort standpoint and an ability for us to get work done. And then the only thing that's in my brain is sort of the governance piece of the board, which is just there to be checks and balances and awareness for the superintendent and his team. And some, I am not sure. I just feel like it's a worthwhile thing. I don't know if that was a topic at policy to include it or not include it, but.
Because it wasn't in the old policy,
It was
so
different.
we mostly just
It wasn't
changed
there,
the
so
tiers.
that was-
Yeah, so
okay.
we didn't go back in and rewrite policies.
Okay.
What you see sort of after the tiers.
Reflects the, okay.
Yeah, we didn't change any wording,
Yeah.
actually. So is that something you'd like me policy
No, I
committee
think
to think
that's,
on?
I think that's okay. I think that's all right if it wasn't a prior piece of it.
Or if you think about it, have language, you can just email us
Yeah.
and we can,
Yeah.
one of us can insert it into another draft and we can bring it back and do this
Yeah.
stuff.
Great.
This is great.
Excellent. Anything else on this? Looking good? Wonderful. We are on to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda, thank you. Personnel, as Mandy kind of alluded to, I'm pleased to present our final IA for hire.
Great job.
Because of where we are, I'm pointing to the document, but you're not, so that'd be under the new hire form? Okay.
All right.
Moving on to as well, Schedule B, not winter Schedule B, regular Schedule B. You will see a math team coach, I'll call it.
Yes.
And then, I know I talked to Andrew today about this, but you will see that there will be a new coach in charge of the MSS Performing Arts Club.
Huh.
So,
I think they're called director.
thank you, Director. Makes a lot more sense when you say it out loud. And then I will point you one more time to Schedule B. Winter Schedule B, we've been fortunate enough to hire a boys varsity basketball coach.
Yes.
That's great.
It's great. Superintendent's update. Great part about all the directors coming here tonight is there's not a lot from me. I would just point you to the overnight field trip for ski.
Right.
Thank you.
Risky.
It's been a long day. Just trying to shorten the words. Just trying to see if there was an acronym there or not. So
We have multiple times.
with that, that's all of my updates and hires. On to Michelle and Becca.
So much energy over there.
Great, you're doing great.
First
You're
aside.
So,
It must
we
be the
have a
steer
couple
with us.
donations, they are anonymous. There's $750 for first grade, $750 for fourth grade, and $750 for sixth grade. So thank you, to the anonymous donor on that. The other item I have is there is, the August financial statement that was in the packet online. You know, this is fairly early, in the year. So, a couple things I just want to point out. One thing is you will note that for food service, we did have an ending year fund balance, which that will help us for the current year where we're showing a deficit, where normally we would show a deficit. The other thing is the board supported, and it was also supported by the budget committee that went to the voters, and there's $75,000 that also will be able to help us. So in the past, we didn't have any money, and so this would all have to come from things that we couldn't spend. Because we'd have to, in some cases, freeze the budget if everything came in, like for instance, health insurance sometimes comes in at a lower rate. That didn't happen this year, but let's just say we didn't have the fund balance from last year for food service, and we didn't have the $75,000. We'd be in a tough spot right now, seeing that we're estimating just under a $219,000 deficit. Another thing I'd like to point out is it was asked to include trust fund balances at one of our finance committee meetings, so I did add that, and now we'll just continue to do that. So I hope that is helpful at the bottom. The last part is, at this point, we're estimating our fund balance for the end of the year just over $68,000.
So that can be a sticker shock, because normally at this time, I think last year was about one million something.
Well, 175.
Okay, and, sorry.
No, sorry, you looked at, yeah.
I looked at the wrong number.
but you can see the significant difference, because I still have to program everyone to know that last year's budget that we operated on was not my budget. So this is my first budget that we're operating. You're seeing the reduction in the fund balance or surplus as one of the goals. So even though that number feels lower, especially to the Hopkinton community, knowing that we properly budgeted, it'll shake out in the end. It doesn't make Michelle feel better, but it'll work out.
The only good thing is that it's so early, and I do conservative estimates, because again, never mind, I do conservative estimates all year long, but especially at the beginning of the year. But I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I appreciate the trust fund balance. I think that's great to see there. Great job by the finance committee to put it in. I like that a lot.
Thanks, Rob.
Mr. Nato, thank you.
Becca.
So the only thing I want to highlight is I have inherited a couple of the title grants. So these are federal money that flows through the state, and then the state issues us grant money in a couple areas. It's not competitive. You receive it, but then you have to design activities, and the activities have to be approved before you can spend the money. So I am working on Title 2A, which is primarily professional development money that is allocated to use for professional development. And I work on Title 4 Part A, which is primarily money used for technology or safety or things that benefit the students directly. So we have a couple of years of money pots that we're still working through. I think because of COVID and other funds that came in, some of the regular title funds their due dates were extended a little bit longer. So my first priority on this job was to finish up the 2020-2021 allocations. So that's the ones that are absolutely due by the end of this month. So we've been working to use those funds. That's actually how we're paying for the testing for world language, and using the remaining parts of our Title IV money there. I didn't plan this, but it's really cool. In the Title IIA money out of our allocation, there's $8.40 left. I can't figure out an activity that's $8.40. And conversely, in the Title IV grant, there's $4.80, and I cannot send $4.80, but I'm comfortable with that amount of money being left in those pots.
I think it probably involves munchkins.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think
That's not
connect
her
directly to
activity.
professional development.
Exactly. Lots to do with that.
With that, just to echo what Becca said, that's part of her job now. She's managing all of the grants and the money. So out of her office, she's working with teachers, soliciting what they may need support with. The feedback forms that she's already been getting has been helping with that. But we want to make sure we're exhausting all the money we're getting on the table down to the pennies. So Becca did a great job of closing those out, assuring that we were using what was provided. So great job.
Great job.
Well, I have to give credit to my very first professor in my very first class in my master's program, because she said, absolutely at all times as an administrator, you keep a running list so that if anyone ever comes to you and says, hey, I have some money, what do you need to spend it on? You have a ready list. So I actually came into this job with a ready list of things that I knew, and then as I've been meeting with people and talking, my list grows. So I have this beautiful list of things that we can prioritize, and as we turn now to finishing out our 21-22 allocations before we open up our 22-23, I'll tap into that list.
Awesome. So with that, I ask you to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome, our final IA.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's very exciting.
It's exciting, especially for that building. It's gonna be great.
Okay. Where am I?
You are on to public comment.
Public comment number 2.
That's fine. There's not enough here. We can track it
I
in the
think
minutes on our
we
own.
can, yes, we'll be okay.
Amanda Gilman. Amanda Gilman, 168 Westford Circle. First, this is the most informed I feel I have ever been, and I've been religiously following meetings for 7 years. And this is like fantastic. So kudos to Mike and everybody. I really feel like great information was brought to the table, and I love the lack of acronyms. Number one. Number two, the budget workshops that you mentioned, I got the dates, but I don't see them in the school board meeting, and I'm sure maybe they just aren't posted yet. Will they be posted in this, like where the regular school board meetings are and the curriculum meetings in that place?
It's on the brown. It's not the brown. The brown calendar means nothing to you, but I thought Jody, you did a whole month, didn't you?
There's other stuff listed.
I see like SB work session.
I did not see that at all.
That's just on, so that's on the main page under the calendar.
So it's not in the school board meeting?
Is that what you just talked about?
Okay, I guess that's where I go to look for things.
I call it the brown calendar, but it's the running calendar on the right-hand side when you first go.
Which is not visible when you use a cell phone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then number three, can you share with me the name of the basketball varsity coach?
Now we can.
Matt Miller.
Great, thank you.
Lauren Clement, 86 Maple Street. I was just curious when we can expect, last meeting you guys had talked about a new template for the minutes for all the subcommittee meetings. I've seen the policy meeting and the finance meeting has started. They're blank, obviously you haven't approved the minutes because they haven't been approved, but there isn't an agenda on there. Usually there's an agenda on that same, I forget what the title is, but on the green page where these board meetings are posted. Is that going to be rolled out soon? Because there's a whole list coming up of weekly meetings. October 1st, the deadline for that. So after the second meetings, we should start seeing minute
It might be
updates.
sooner, but we're making sure that it's aligned so that it's the same in all of the committee groups. So I met with Becca on Monday about shifting templates so that it's all the same template, all of it, so that it's not misinformed. It's the wrong word. But yeah. Confusing.
Okay, and second comment, question. Reading up on minutes and with subcommittees, if my understanding is right from the state's, a state site, public is allowed to go to the subcommittee meetings and record video and audio, is that correct?
What's the question? So the question is if there's
At a subcommittee meeting, if it, the general public's allowed to attend, and are they allowed to record audio and video of those meetings?
I believe so.
I believe that's how it was worded. Okay, thank you.
What was the word? I'm sorry.
On the state website in regards to minutes.
I would have to, I don't
Are you saying
specifically know about.
we provide video or you guys record us? That's where I'm confused.
If my understanding is the district's not going to record any of these subcommittee meetings, and many of us parents can't make them, the minutes we feel are inadequate. They make devices. One's called an Owl 3, and you set it in a room. It works very well for a conference table. Works well for people if they're zooming in, and it costs about $1,000, but it seems like a really good device to record meetings, subcommittee meetings, and be able to hold a dialogue of them and reference back to them. If the meeting minutes are minimal, they're not great for even you guys to reference back 6 months ago what's on curriculum. I mean, I don't know, or CPA, CIP. I mean, you guys probably take your own personal notes that don't end up in the minutes, but if you look at the minutes, they look pretty much like the agenda, and I just referenced 2 meetings that have gone by and the agenda's not even there. So I know there was overlap on these meetings last year, Rob, you had brought it up that might have been some confusion. At some point, or during COVID, they were recorded through Zoom so we could watch them. But I know myself and some others, some of these subcommittee meetings, we'd like more out of it, and certainly having a recording of it that we could share that's open and transparent would be beneficial, I think, to the district. And I'm not sure what recording devices you were using, but the district's not going to furnish it. Maybe that's something PTA would do, or another group would come up with the recording equipment, so this could be provided to the community. I think it'd be a step in the right direction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rita Blanchard. I was notified, obviously everybody knows I don't have kids in school. I was notified by a parent about a survey that was in a 7th grade class called Project Success. And this is I looked this up, so I couldn't find any curriculum for this course, this particular course. Everything was blank on all 4 units. It was a 7th grade survey. There is an RSA about surveys that are not school related, and since there's no curriculum in that class's 4 units, I don't know if it's educationally related or not. A very similar survey was given to a class in Goffstown, so I'm wondering what the connection there is. I could not find the survey posted on our website anywhere and I don't know if parents were notified. The parent I spoke to was not notified the survey was being given. And I'm curious if it was given to the entire 7th grade. If it was done in error, how is it being corrected? What steps are y'all taking to correct this survey? I don't know what word to use. Being administered. And I did want to compliment Becca. I heard you say science and reading. I've been reading a bunch about that, so that's really good with the youngsters in light of our literacy scores. I have one question. I'm just going to throw this out there. I have no idea. Can the ESSR funds be used for any of the English or math studies that we need to lift those scores? I don't expect an answer right now. I'm just curious. That came to me when y'all were talking about it. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Rita. Any other comments? No? All right. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment portion then of this evening. And we're going to move on to other business, old business, and committee updates. So this is another opportunity, Lauren, you referenced the meeting minutes, so that their opportunity for our committee updates to find out what happened in them is now. So I know we already talked about policy committee. We had talked about just DJE, which we already discussed, and didn't know if there are any additional committee updates today.
There's nothing for CIP yet. We're working on scheduling our first meeting, so if people haven't seen it, that's why. But one of the things that we'll do at the first meeting is try to set the dates for the rest of the year, which will have a heavier load probably through the fall, as well as set our committee goals and what we'd really like to work on for the year. So that'll be exciting. Want it? It will be. It is.
We'll see.
Yes, absolutely.
So, in our second meeting in October, me and Mr. Flynn are going to bring some questions from the budget committee for this board to discuss. It's probably about 4 or 5 questions they asked, and it's appropriate that I bring it here and that we discuss it, and I'll relay the comments to them in our meeting with Mr. Flynn in that Wednesday's meeting. Just wanted to make that.
There is no actual budget committee meetings though, just to make the public aware. You go to the town budget.
Yeah, it was a budget committee meeting I went to, and they had 5 questions they want us to answer, and we're gonna bring it to the board on the second meeting in October.
Finance?
Yeah.
So we talked about, excuse me, goals for the year, and essentially 4, to increase and improve our budget documents, or continue to improve those. Use of pamphlets, a glossary that has been talked about for quite a long time. Michelle and I are going to meet on that in a couple of weeks. And how to post things on the website so it's more legible. Spreadsheets don't always convert very well. Continue to talk about the process of reducing the fund balance and what that looks like. One of our goals for the last meeting in upcoming will be breaking down last year's fund balance to see how we can better understand that. And then the last one was just when it gets time to do warrants, in light of the operating budget, what's our best way to go about and how much funding can we give as we continue to transition towards, and I really emphasize, we saw tonight the importance of having those trusts for when things arise during the year and moving away from the fund balance, as we all know. So, and that was really, if you work your way through that, that was our discussion at our last meeting. So.
Great. And I guess just to elaborate a little bit more, so policy met, and our only goal is to continue to update. We're going to update policies based on the recent statutory changes made in the past legislative session, which is about 44 policies, and then update policies as needed, kind of as flagged by administration. Stuff that's just old and needs to get updated. So that's policy. We're meeting twice a month. Did we, first and third? Second and fourth, we said, I don't know.
One of them. It'll show up in the calendar.
They'll be on they will be posted. We went first and third or second and fourth. I can't remember.
Those are actually already posted on the calendar. You can't see on a mobile device that we heard tonight.
Okay.
So all the policy and all the finance meetings are already posted for the entire year.
Okay. On the main
Yep.
main calendar, right on the front page. And then the Curriculum Assessment Committee has not yet met. Their first meeting, our first meeting is next Thursday at 3 p.m. And so we will, at that point, establish goals and meeting times. That's it. Anything else for policy? Any other news, old news? Anything else we haven't covered? No? Anything from you guys? No, I do not believe, is there any need for a non-public?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are we discussing our joint meeting now, or?
Oh, that's
I
right.
don't mean to-
The
I don't mean to
other,
cut you in.
no, I wrote that as a note to myself.
Yeah.
So the one other thing I wanted to bring under upcoming news, so we have a joint meeting with the select board on October 11th. We'll start our meeting, they're coming to us, we'll start our meeting all together. I have some ideas of things that we would like to talk about. I know like the plan for Georges Park would be a great one for us all to get on the same page about. I didn't know if there was anything else that the board was interested in discussing. Yes?
Harold Martin, entry exit.
Okay.
Is on my mind.
Totally.
So it's, this was coming back from the airport a couple of weeks ago and thinking about, the conundrum of getting people in and out of this very narrow road, and then thinking about Fieldstone, and is it possible to create a one-way exit out of Harold Martin School? That is, I don't know, well, there are no houses there. I know it's a steep pitch, but it'd be a topic of discussion. Just figuring out another way, both for just daily activity and also for emergency situations.
And I'll bring it up at that meeting, but the trend now with families is pick up and drop off. It's shifted away from busing, so the traffic is significantly different than when the entrance and exit was designed. So just a point of reference that I can see the trend continuing. I see less busing in our future would be my guess.
Just too bad. Right, public transportation.
I have 2. One would be, I would like to inquire about where we stand with our agreement with the fairgrounds to use it. That's something I've brought up multiple times, and we're I believe it's cross country, and I think Nordic is using
Uh,
Yeah, so I just.
Blackwater Nordic has its own agreement
Yeah.
with the Fairfax Association.
And then the other one is, I know it's more of the state, but some signage on some locations on students walking to school has been a significant issue. I know it's more of the state than the select board, but just a discussion that they could elevate it or whatnot is important.
Great. Anything else?
George Park, but it's already on there.
Got it on there.
Just want to say it again out loud.
All right, excellent. I just feel like this way we have some, we're not flying in blind, we have some things that we'd like to talk about.
And that's our next meeting?
No, that meeting is October,
11th.
that is our next
Next
regular
meeting.
school board meeting. Before that, we will have a budget working meeting.
I will be calling into that meeting.
Okay.
Just like that.
Excellent, thank you. We do not have need for a non-public this evening. So if there's nothing else, I will go ahead and close this meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
This is great.
Thank you.